the trading host on Verena, 3 stank of fuel and desperation. Captain Marcus Cole had seen worse, but the sight of the small figure huddled between cargo containers still made him pause. She was maybe 10 standard, years old. Her blue-tinted skin marked with bruises, her 4-fingered hands clutching a torn blanket. When she looked up at him with those enormous violet eyes, something ancient and protective stirred in his chest. "Please," she whispered in broken standard. "Help." Marcus crouched down, keeping his movements slow. "What happened, kid?" "My name is Lyra. My family, they left me." Her voice cracked. "Side, I was defective. Side, I bring shame." The words hit Marcus like a plasma bolt. He had heard stories about certain Valthine clans abandoning children who showed genetic anomalies, but seeing it firsthand ignited a cold fury in his gut. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get you somewhere safe." The crew of the Horizon's Edge were no strangers to strays, but Lyra was different. Over the following weeks, she barely spoke, flinching at sudden movements and hoarding food in her sleeping quarters. Dr. Ramos confirmed what Marcus had suspected: severe malnutrition, old fractures that had healed poorly, and psychological trauma that would take years to overcome. "Her people did this," Ramos said quietly one night. "Her own blood." Marcus stared out at the stars streaming past the viewport. "Then her people are going to answer for it." Finding the Valthine clan ship took 3 months. Marcus used every contact, called in every favor, and followed every lead across 4 sectors. The Bright Harmony was a mid-sized family vessel, prosperous and well-regarded in Valthine society. They had just docked at the Kelvin station when Marcus arrived. He walked through the station's main concourse with Lyra at his side. She wore clean clothes now, her hair properly groomed, her injuries healed. But her hand trembled in his. "You don't have to do this," Marcus said. "Yes, I do." Her voice was stronger now. "They need to see me." The Valthine family matriarch, Elder Verena, was dining at an upscale establishment with several clan members when Marcus and Lyra approached. The elder's face, already pale blue, went nearly white when she saw the child. "Lyra?" One of the younger Valthine gasped. "But we left you on to die," Marcus finished coldly. "Yes, we know." Elder Verena recovered quickly, her expression hardening. "This is a family matter, human. It does not concern you. Wrong." Marcus placed a data pad on the table. "This is a legal matter now. I've filed charges with the Galactic Council for child abandonment, endangerment, and attempted murder." Nervous laughter rippled around the table. "The Council won't intervene in Valthine cultural practices," Verena said dismissively. "Maybe not." Marcus smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. "But they will intervene when I show them the evidence. Every transaction your clan has made in council space for the past decade. Every docking fee. Every trade agreement. All subject to council law, which expressly prohibits the abandonment of dependents." The elder's confidence wavered. "You have no standing. Actually, I do." Marcus produced another document. "As of yesterday, I'm Lyra's legal guardian under human and council law, which means I have every right to pursue justice on her behalf." One of the younger clan members stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous." She was defective. The gene scans showed that she has a slightly elevated neural density, Dr. Ramos said, appearing beside Marcus, which in humans would be considered genius level. "Your defect is a gift you were too ignorant to recognize." Elder Verena's hands clenched. "What do you want, human?" "Justice," Marcus said simply. "And to make sure you never do this to another child." The hearing before the Galactic Council Subcommittee took place 3 weeks later. Marcus had assembled an airtight case, medical records, station security footage of Lyra being abandoned, testimonies from witnesses who had seen the family leave without her, and most damning of all, communication logs showing that the clan had discussed and planned the abandonment that the Valthine delegation tried to argue cultural precedent. But the human legal team Marcus hired tore through every defense. Human law, it turned out, had extensive precedents for protecting children, refined over thousands of years. The council judges, many of whom came from species with strong family bonds, listened with growing disapproval. The defendant clan argues this was their right, Judge Korvax rumbled. But rights end where harm to the helpless begins. This council finds the Bright Harmony clan guilty of child abandonment and reckless endangerment. The penalties were severe. The clan lost their trading license for 5 years. Elder Verena was personally fined an amount that would cripple the family's finances. Worse, the ruling was broadcast across council space, marking the clan with shame that would follow them for generations. But Marcus wasn't done. He used his contacts in the human media networks to spread Lyra's story. Within days, it became a sensation across human space and beyond. The image of a small, frightened child left to die while her family sailed away struck a chord that transcended species boundaries. Public opinion turned toxic for the Valthine clan. Other families began distancing themselves. Trade partners canceled contracts. The social structure that had allowed such cruelty began to crack under scrutiny. Then the death threats started arriving at the Bright Harmony. Not from Marcus or anyone connected to him, but from outraged citizens across a dozen species. The clan that had once moved freely through council stations now required security escorts. "Make it stop," Elder Verena pleaded during a terse communication. "We've paid the fines. We've accepted the judgment." Marcus looked at her through the screen, his expression carved from ice. "You left a child to die because you decided she wasn't worth the effort of raising. You threw her away like garbage. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences?" "We didn't know. You didn't care," Marcus interrupted. "That's worse." The communication ended. 6 months after the hearing, Marcus received word that the Valthine government had passed new child protection laws, spurred by the scandal. Other clans had come forward with their own stories of abandoned children, and the cultural practice that had persisted for generations began to collapse under the weight of galactic condemnation. Meanwhile, Lyra thrived aboard the horizon's edge. Her genetic gift manifested as an extraordinary aptitude for engineering and mathematics. She designed improvements to the ship's drive system that increased efficiency by 12%. She learned 3 new languages. She smiled. One evening, she found Marcus in his quarters, staring at the data pad that displayed the latest news from Valthine space. The Bright Harmony had been forced to sell their ship and dissolve the clan entirely. The family members had scattered, trying to escape the infamy. "Do you think they've learned?" Lyra asked quietly. Marcus considered the question. "Maybe. Or maybe they've just learned to hide it better." "I'm glad you found me," she said. "Me too, kid." He ruffled her hair gently. "Me too." The story didn't end there. As Lyra grew, so did her reputation. By the time she was 16, she had published papers on quantum mechanics that made her a sought-after consultant. Human universities offered scholarships. Research institutions competed for her attention, and always she made sure people knew where she came from. "I was left to die by my own blood," she would say in interviews. "But a human stranger showed me that family isn't about genetics. It's about who chooses to stand beside you when everything falls apart." The word spread across networks and news feeds. A quiet rebuke that never mentioned the Valthine clan by name, but ensured no one would forget their crime. Years later, Marcus received a message from an unknown Valthine address. It was brief. "We're sorry. We were wrong." He deleted it without responding. Some debts couldn't be paid with words. But that night, watching Lyra work on a revolutionary new engine design that would change space travel forever. Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The family that had discarded her because they deemed her worthless had unwittingly set in motion their own destruction. Their cruelty had been answered not with violence, but with something more powerful, proof that they had thrown away something precious. The human concept of retribution, Marcus had learned long ago, wasn't always about revenge. Sometimes it was simply about making sure the truth was known. The innocent were protected, and those who caused harm faced the consequences of their choices. Lyra looked up from her work and smiled at him. "What are you thinking about?" "How lucky I am," Marcus said honestly, "and how stupid your biological family was." She laughed, the sound bright and free. "Their loss, right?" "Their loss," Marcus agreed. "And humanity's gain." Outside the viewport, stars wheeled through the infinite dark, indifferent to the small dramas of those who traveled between them. But aboard the horizon's edge, one human and one Valthine girl had created something her blood, family never could, a bond built not on obligation or genetics, but on choice, compassion, and the simple recognition that every life has worth. And across the galaxy, others who might have abandoned their own learned a hard lesson. Humanity remembered. Humanity protected its own. And once you earned their retribution, the consequences would follow you long after the courts had finished. The Bright Harmony clan had learned this truth too late. Their name would live on, not as a symbol of prosperity, but as a cautionary tale, whispered whenever someone suggested that some lives mattered.